No, I said click, not right click. Oops, they did it again. And who's ready for some Fortnite? These stories and much more on today's episode of MSP Dispatch.
Today's episode of MSP Dispatch is presented by a very merry MSP holiday. 25 days of giveaways of amazing gifts for MSPs near and far. Simply register for a chance to win, then, beginning December 1st, each day we will randomly select a winner of that day's gift. To learn more or register to win, visit go.oit.co/Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho. Good morning and welcome to the December 23rd episode of MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. I'm Ray Orsini, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Tony Francisco. How you doing, Tony?
Excellent. Trying to be festive with my.
Oh, that's super festival. Festive is
festive.
Festive. We'll go with festive. That's English. So,
words are hard today. How are you?
They're hard. I've never been to Burning Man, right? And while I have this curiosity, it's not my scene. It's not, it's like Woodstock, something I can appreciate, just not something I would go to personally. But to satiate that curiosity, a researcher by the name of, let's see if I get this right, completely promise I will not. A researcher by the name of Mark Day had the idea to use Midjourney AI, which we talked about Midjourney in one of our previous episodes. Phil put it up. And he used it to visualize what Burning Man would look like in the 60s. And I thought it was pretty damn cool. It's like a mix of Star Trek versus, I don't know, but I don't think it's far off base. What do you think, Tony?
I like this. That is magical.
It is magical. And I'm starting to learn of software companies that are doing all their graphic designs in Midjourney, where they're just using it to create all the assets, and more power to them. I don't know what the licensing is when it comes to that, but it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's called Midjourney, is that correct?
Yeah, it's Midjourney. It's the one we covered I don't know how long ago.
Yeah, it was what? I'm doing a loop back for our guests. No, that's awesome.
Tony, why don't we get into some news, man?
Let's get into the news. Straight out of the gate, and we're hitting something sensitive. Gen Z is overwhelmed by tech shame. In Fortune.com, Gen Z is most likely to feel plagued by technological issues at work, according to the HP's global survey of 10,000 office workers around the world. That might be surprising considering that the youngest generation is digitally native, often assigned the job of explaining newfangled gizmos or devices to their older peers at work, but it can put Gen Z under pressure. This is, quote, tech shame, as Debbie Irish, head of HP's UK and Ireland Human Resources, calls it. Gen Z workers spend about 8 hours a week on average simply helping their older colleagues locate their computer files. Additionally, older technology like fax machines leave younger workers confused and feeling a sense of imposter syndrome, according to research from Asana. Ray, so I don't bust out laughing because this is a news show. This is a news show. Talk to me. Hold on, before you go. I just want to say, my notes, and I read this straight from the article because I didn't understand this. 8 hours a week on average, simply helping their older colleagues locate computer files. 8 hours a week. We're getting back into the news now, and if you haven't seen the bloopers yet, you got to see the bloopers because that was about 10 minutes of bloopers right there. Ray, why don't we kick it off? What are your thoughts on this one?
So this is mind-boggling to me, right? Because our generation, we were the ones helping the older generation with the tech, but we grew up in tech, and that was the assumption was we grew up in tech, so we understood it better, so further generations would understand it better and better and better, right? And I saw this with my daughter. She's 23 now, but she picked up tech extremely early. My 9-year-old picked up tech extremely early, but it appears that assumption maybe has a fallacy, because if as we just went back and forth, and you'll see in the bloopers, as we just went back and forth, it skipped the millennials and went to Gen Z, and Gen Z has the technical proficiency, and they're helping the millennials. And I understand the lost productivity. We have this thing at the office where I refer to it as Avengers Assemble, where somebody will ask a question in a Teams channel, and everybody from every other department will start piling in, and it becomes this like, suddenly it's like Socrates is leading the a big group mind think tank, and it's something that could be answered by a single person, but the lack of productivity from everybody jumping in makes it 10 times worse. So I completely understand where managers are going to focus on the lack of productivity from somebody, especially when somebody's being used outside of their hired skill set. Not that they don't have additional skill sets. It's no different than if you and I partnered up in business for cloud services, and I said, okay, I also want you to use your BJJ and start beating up our competitors. Not that I would ever say that. But you get what I'm saying? It's not the skill set you were hired for. So I can see the frustration on behalf of the Gen Zers, on behalf of the Gen Zers, where they're saying, I was hired for X, and now I spend most of my day doing Y. And then you get stories like last episode where Mark Benioff is saying the new hires are not efficient enough or productive enough. I don't know. Am I extrapolating a little too much? Am I reading too much in the tea leaves?
I think you're saying exactly what needs to be said, which was, you have a lot of things that are being taken out of context, exaggerated. But at the end of the day, the theme is the same, where the older generations are struggling more than the newer generations with technology. But there's a lot of things that need to be covered, and those things that need to be covered aren't being addressed, are being criticized by the top down as far as the age concerned. Somewhere in the middle, you've got the millennials, which is the middle now. Just my brain just exploded there, which is the middle. The millennials are being helped by the Gen Zers. So I'm wondering when the millennials and the Gen Zers go at war. So the Gen Xers, we just kind of sit back and go, yes. We've built this.
It's the Bloods and the Crips, or or the Jets and the Sharks. It's one of the two. I don't know. This story is disappointing to me in so many ways.
You know what? Okay, so
there with the contents of the story, it's just personally disappointing.
There's a lot of things happening here, and we should get some input on the Gen Xers and the Gen Zs and the Bloods and the Crips in your office organization. If you have different generations and how they interact, we'd love to hear that, because that's not something we see a lot of, and now we're hearing about it. So if those of you see it firsthand, please let us know how your younger or multi-generational teams are working together. But there are events that are going to occur, and recently there was a big one. Ray, talk about it.
Absolutely. So in our next top story, an email update from LastPass to its customers posted by user PressDocs on our LastPass on Reddit. He shared the email as states, LastPass recently sent an email to customers as an update to the August notice where a third-party cloud provider was compromised. This cloud provider was used to store backups. The update states that the information gained by the third party was used to target an employee for additional credentials to access the cloud-based storage service. The service accessed by this party stores backups and is separate from production environments. The backups contain both encrypted and unencrypted data. LastPass reiterated that because of our zero-knowledge platform, your users' encrypted vault data, which includes usernames, passwords, secure notes, and form-filled data, remains safely protected. Investigation also revealed that the unauthorized third party had access to a limited number of authentication keys contained within the backups. These keys are used by some of our business customers who have enabled specific API-based integrations with our platform, including SCIM Enterprise and SAML API applications. Recommendations for users of LastPass include deleting your SAML applications and recreating them with new credentials. Tony, I get the Zero Trust platform. I get the encrypted at rest. I love the new hat. My thing is this. We've heard this song and dance from LastPass before. And these are not third-party services were breached. They're sub-processors of LastPass. LastPass was used to gain access to other services. LastPass was the point of access. At what point do you lose confidence in your password manager when that's the case?
I'm terrified. This is what I consider to be, if there is a worst case scenario, and we've talked about this since the genesis of the show, the centralization of credentials being hacked is the worst of the worst. But if you have a centralization of centralizations that has been hacked, I just can't imagine anything worse than that, because we're not talking about your Windows credentials, your Office 365. We're talking about everyone in the organization's Office 365 credentials, because maybe the tenant admin was taken, on top of the company credit cards and bank accounts, on top of other top secret information, everything from your 401ks at a business level, because these are employees that keep their stuff there because that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a safe place. And then you have this happening on one side. Last week, we talked about the FBI, user group being hacked for those being back at
InfraGard, yep.
InfraGard. And we've got, along the way up until this very path, we've got multiple ransomware attacks occurring at state level, city level, federal level attacks occurring, supply chain management issues, food sources. This is nonstop. And this, what we just talked about now, is something that could be bigger and lead to all of that as almost ancillary, parenthetical components, because of the impact of this one place being hacked. Maybe I'm exaggerating this in my mind, but prepare for the worst, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I can't imagine a preparation that's going to accommodate that particular target being hacked.
So I'm going to bring it back down a little bit, right? And yes,
my neurotic.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you that this has nuclear potential, right? I absolutely understand that. It's literally the keys to the kingdom. I completely get that. And you're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of potentially affected users. So I'm with you 100% there. I'm not arguing against it at all. My thing is this, though. There are many, many, many password managers out there. And I'm not arguing for or against LastPass. That's not the case. Our goal is to put the information out there. You, as the listener, you do with that whatever you think is best. But LastPass has had a series of breaches over the last several years since their LogMeIn acquisition. And this is not an argument for self-hosted versus third-party. That is a personal decision. But my thing is, no other company in my recollection has been hit this many times. And every single time, LastPass is the point of entry. I mean, as a steward of your data, whether they have access to it or not is irrelevant, because as we discussed in the last time we discussed the LastPass breach, even though the blob is encrypted, because you can store it locally, now it's susceptible to brute force attacks, because you can sit there and hammer on it all day and all night without any warning, and you'll never know because they have it to work on whenever they want. It makes me wonder, at what point do you say enough is enough with your vendor? And I'm not saying leave LastPass. I'm just asking where you draw that line. If you're an MSP or you use any password manager, you don't have to call them out by name, but there has to be a point where your vendor, where understanding swaps over to, I don't understand why this keeps happening. I don't trust you. And we want to know where that line is. But until we get that information, I'm going to go ahead and go play Fortnite with Tony on the next story.
Straight from ftc.gov, Fortnite video game maker Epic Games, he has to pay more than $500 million over FTC allegations of privacy violation and unwanted changes. The summary is this: Epic will pay a $275 million penalty for violating children's privacy law, changing default privacy settings, and pay $245 million in refunds for tricking users into making unwanted changes. The Federal Trade Commission has secured agreements requiring Epic Games, Inc. creator of the popular game Fortnite, to pay a total of $520 million in relief over allegations the company has violated the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, COPA, and deployed design tricks known as dark patterns to dupe millions of players into making unintentional purchases. Ray, you're not safe with LastPass. You're not safe with the FBI user group and InfraGard. I just want to play a video. Oh, I can't do that either. What are you doing here, Jake? Are you
I was
purchasing
playing
stuff?
Fortnite. I got a legendary rifle, a legendary AR, man.
Oh, you didn't have to buy that, by the way.
No. Well, you haven't talked to my 9-year-old.
Oh, touche.
So to TLD or to Eli 5 this, right? The free game used your information in ways that you didn't intend to, and they abused access to that fact. And their core market is teenagers and under teens that don't understand what they're doing. And Fortnite was taking advantage of that lack of information too. Is that the breaking news that we're really putting out?
Listen, the government doesn't have a lot of news to cover, so they put this on their website to show that they are righteous. Yes.
I mean, because if I get this epic AR, I'm golden. I do not. I play with my son. I play Fortnite all the time. Now, I mean, I'm glad to see the FTC cracking down on this stuff. They are absolutely the right authority to do it. I'm glad to see them taking data privacy seriously. That's very important. And I'm glad they're going after the obvious targets. It's real easy to go after the little guys because they're going to be an easy battle, right? The FTC will roll them over. Going after Epic Games, it's a little bigger of an operation. So they're paying attention where eyes need to be. And I kind of appreciate that. I really do. As we're both parents to younger kids. It's a nice thing to have. Are you going to share this story with your boys? Are you going to have that conversation with them?
I am one of the few parents out there that don't allow video games in the house. It's weird. I know. I'm dead to many people. What's funny is I take them to old school arcades, the actual old school arcade. Okay. Yes. And I will play the games. We'll play a lot of games. Our hands are like black from I'm sure we've got like cancer and all the other stuff from just the grime. It's like a petri dish in there. But we go when we have a good time, and it's siloed. And when they're home, they have to do certain home things. And so I make sure to silo them accordingly because for those of you who remember the keyboard only the Doom game, I used to get Doom Pinky, where your pinky doesn't move for hours and it just turns blue and it's cold. Yes. So I remember getting sucked into this for a long time, and I'm trying to steer them away from that. They're going to have their time later in life to do that. So I personally don't have the games at the house. However, I am constantly educating them off of stories from this show, and they are fascinating. So this is one of the stories I am going to talk to them about, and they're going to say, "Whoa!" And I'm going, "Yeah, that's
I'm constantly and I applaud you for that. That's fantastic. My older brother did that with his kids to the point where like my sister got him a Game Boy, original Game Boy, not a Switch, when they were younger, and he made him give it back. And then he waited till they were in college, and he bought a PlayStation for himself. But the boys graduated to be architects and engineers, and they're both very successful now. So
that's a better part. Well, both boys went to jail, by the age of 17. You're like, man,
from stealing a PlayStation. Now, and I just laugh because the entire time you're saying this, I'm thinking, I know you have a Flipper Zero. I know we just talked about you buying Raspberry Pis. So Goose Gander, yeah, there you go. So. I'm constantly telling my 9-year-old, don't believe everything you see online, because he sees these YouTube shorts and he thinks they're funny, and, he'll bring stuff back to me, and I'll supervise, of course, but, I'll talk to him about, they're doing these things for views. They're doing these things. They're overly exaggerated. You can't trust this stuff. And And not that you can't trust anybody, just to be aware, right? And that's why, I will absolutely, I'll have to dilute it down a little bit because he's 9, but I will absolutely be sharing the story with my son. So he understands, if you're not paying for something, sometimes you are the product.
Absolutely. I don't know. We should probably get into some notable mentions, and I want to hear about how everyone in the technology industry that we talk to every day, how do you handle your kids? I mean, that's what a great thing to talk about. We're all in technology. How do you address technology in your house? So maybe you should let us know. You have 5 PS5s.
While we do that, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
John Carmack, originally Oculus' CTO, has resigned from Meta amidst frustration over the company's efficiency. Carmack began as CTO in 2013 and has served as consulting CTO since 2019. Carmack shared an internal memo on his Facebook account describing how he has been satisfied with the technology being produced, but unhappy with the way the company is being run.
Jumping into my notable mention from commando.com with a K, some important privacy settings. Apple, Google, Amazon, and Facebook are always listening unless you change some settings. What's the downside of always on devices that listen for your voice commands? Nearly all voice-activated technology uses microphones that listen for wake words. That means they're technically always listening, and it may be time to shut them off. Here's a few tips. For your Facebook users on your iPhone, open up your Settings app, scroll down and tap Facebook, toggle the green switch next to the microphone to off. You can also open up the Settings app, then scroll down and tap Privacy and Security, locate the menu labeled microphone and tap it. Find Facebook, and you'll find a list of applications in there that are listening. Please log into our show notes for details on how to disable listening in your smart security systems, your smart TV, Amazon Ring, Amazon Echo, Google Nest, Google Assistant, Windows Cortana, and Siri. And jumping into our community events, on December 27th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the MSP Dispatch presented by the MSP Media Network. On December 28th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Build It Better, MSP discussion presented by Everything MSP. On December 29th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Tech Bar Podcast, episode 49. And finally, on the 30th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the MSP Dispatch Weekly Wrap-Up presented by the MSP Media Network.
This episode of MSP Dispatch is presented by Cloudy's Heroes. Every year, OIT Gives and OIT VoIP look forward to conducting the annual Toys for Tots Toy Drive in our gift matching program. Let's make a child's wish come true this holiday season by giving back to those in need. To make a donation, visit go.oit.co/cloudysheroes.
Da 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 da. Oh, so how'd you like today's show? If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't, go ahead and hit it 3 times. It's Christmas. And if you want to hear more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube or your favorite podcatcher. Did you know we also have a Discord where we post stories all week? You can propose your own stories and even vote on which ones we'll cover. As my friend Rich Banky says, make sure to tell a friend. Also, be sure to follow us on social media at MSP Media TV. Have any questions? Email news@mspmedia.tv for answers on the next episode, or leave us a voicemail, 833-MSP Network. Tony, we hoed, and we hoed. It was a great episode. I appreciate all your insight and all your wonderful words and your costume changes throughout the episode. Thank you for that.
I'm also really casual. I'm in my sweatshirt. This matches my my profile picture and all of my from the Lensa app that you actually brought up and gave me an awesome profile picture. So now I got to just wear this all the time because people then they go, "Oh my gosh, I recognize you."
There you go. I think we need new Lensa pictures for Christmas. Well, I'm going to go off to go play Fortnite and have a conversation with my 9-year-old. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Tell the MSP audience, take care of yourselves and each other.
Be safe, everyone.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.
Younger colleagues, younger, not older, right?
No, helping their older colleagues.
The millennials?
The millennials.
Oh no,
Gen Z. I'm sorry. Gen Z are helping their older colleagues, which I guess could be millennials. Oh, that's funny. But then it comes full circle around to, well, throwing a fax machine at you.
Pause that timer for a second. Are you sure?
Gen Z workers spend about 8 hours a week on average. Just search for average.
Yeah.
Helping their older colleagues locate. It comes out like 11,000. Isn't that like that? I remember the term 11,000.
The older colleagues. Huh.
Right? Because I had to keep rereading that. Like, really? Is that?
So Gen Z is before or after millennial?
It's millennial, then Gen Z after that. So it's Gen
X, Z's are helping
Gen Y, millennials in there, and then Gen Z.
It's not XYZ, then millennial?
I don't know. Hold on.
Can we get some production help here? Like which
here we go. Generation X, generation 1965 to 1980. Millennials were born 81 to 96. Gen Z. Oh, so millennials and Gen Y are the same thing.
Okay, so Gen Zers are helping millennials or Gen Y. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay. So Gen Zers are helping millennials.
Yeah, so the millennials are the older. Oh my gosh, Gen.
Yeah, that's it, right? You got right there. Yes, that right there. That was a sentence I was trying not to say. Yes. So
just to be clear, millennials, aka Gen Yers, are the older of the two. And we consider like those millennials.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Hold on. Get my walker.
Oh, in my day.
In my day. Get off my lawn.
Oh, jeez. They're being treated like boomers. Okay.
That's exactly.
Oh, wow. Where's the okay millennial? Oh, wow. This is rough.
Okay, boomer.
I'm so sorry for picking this story now.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So here we go. So where were we? Okay, let me kick it off with this. Ready?
The update states that the information used by the third party. I wrote this. There's no reason I shouldn't understand this. Okay.
I love that I wrote this. Like
it's not like Seth wrote it and I'm reading it. I wrote this.
Let me flip my sexy Santa. Oh, that's okay.
On fleek. Okay. All right.
You're okay. I'm on fleek now. Okay, here we go. And pay 245. I got to restart that one, you guys. I wrote this. I literally wrote these notes. Okay, here we go. Just trying to steal your.
Trust me, I get it.
You understand what I'm trying here? Okay, here we go. Before we get into the notable mention, here's some B-roll. So my kids watch with the TikTok, and but they don't have TikTok. They just occasionally pull up stuff and it's like, oh, it's TikTok video, so they watch it. But I only allow a certain amount of TikTok time in the network, and then it shuts off that URL. Yep. So I'm a jerk. So they watch this thing where they throw on bags and blah blah. Anyway, so this just happened yesterday. So my kids go home. They go out and they walk the dogs. We have a big pit bull and a blue heeler, and the pit pooped, and so they put it in a little bag and they're walking home, and Hayden says, well, first off, let me pause for a second. Kale comes back and he's kind of got this look and this weird walk. I go, hey, what's going on? He goes, don't touch me. And I go, hey, what's that smell? And he goes, oh. So Hayden saw a TikTok video where the guy was like spinning around, so he started doing it and with the bag, and I said, the poop bag? And he goes, yes. And I said, and it broke, and he goes, and it went everywhere. It went everywhere. I'm like,
He hit the fan.
hit the fan, hit the Hayden fan. So anyway, so that was I was like, oh man, they see things and they mimic it. And that's what I'm afraid of, is that, I have no control over that. And the fan. So literally. Okay.
That's a situation.
So let's get into the notable mentions.
Going from Fortnite to Oculus, John Carmack, originally Oculus's CTO, has resigned from Meta on the YouTubes. Carmack began as CTO in 2013 and has served as consulting CTO since 2019. Carmack shared an internal memo on his Facebook account describing how he has been dissatisfied.
Got to make sure my eyebrows on fleek. Okay, here we go.